Today I met a young man, and he was the Uber driver. So I cannot quite remember how we even got talking on the topic that I'm about to mention. But I guess maybe because I was giving him commendations because he came in a Fiat. No, it wasn't a Fiat. It was a Honda Fit. And with the number of bags that we have, typically with two persons, we would order an Uber XL. But somehow it just was not fitting. Sorry, my bad, I got distracted. They were just not being available. So I suggested that we use two Ubers to get the process going with all the bags and thing. But for some reason, this young man was determined that it was going to fit. We're going to try. That was his wording. And I remember that we have called Uber XL consistently, and we've had a few who have been very discourteous because they do not consider Uber a transportation method that needs to carry suitcases as you move from one place to another. So by now I have gotten accustomed to what I tend to call the callousness of some people here in the DR who are doing Uber. And I count the cost for each move, and I know that I will just have to be prepared. So when we couldn't get an Uber XL, we decided let's get two. So the first one came, this young man, he made himself available and he just jumped to trying to fit everything, and he did miraculously. It just made me think about those persons who have SUVs and even highest type vans, who groan and belly ache and all of that. And you might wonder, why am I talking about this? There are many things I want to say about this experience, but I will dovetail it into my experiences operating in the Dominican Republic and some of the things that I find very disheartening. As a person who likes to see positives in anything, I will always leave out the negatives for as long as possible. But we can call this a review of life in the DR. And one of the things that I will start off by saying, much to my surprise, considering that the Dominican Republic checks two big boxes. One, it is a Latin American country, meaning it's Spanish and everything about the mannerisms and everything else, it's Latin, it's Spanish based. That's number one. And number two, it's Caribbean. So having, well, I'm a Caribbean person, lived my whole life in the Caribbean except for a few brief stints elsewhere. So being a Caribbean person and being someone who has lived and worked both throughout Latin America, among Latin Americans, and of course in the motherland, Spain, there are some things I expect. And one of the things that surprised me, I was expecting Dominicans to be more like Jamaicans. Now, one thing that is always a given when Jamaicans meet a foreigner visiting, especially if they're spending an extended time in the country, we always we invite them over for a meal, usually dinner, because we're very welcoming and warm like that. And we also invite them out. I remember back in the day, if you had somebody in the community, whether it's a foreigner or local, but as long as they're there, you invite them either to church, or you invite them if there is like a holiday and there's a trip going, or if it's a beach day. We invite people. We also share. You know, you have a neighbor that has moved in, particularly if it's a foreigner, you want to share your cuisine. So if it is a potato porn, or if it's a cornmeal porn, or some jerk, something, we share instinctively. And I expected people in the DR to be the same. Have not had that experience, not even once. Another thing that I found curious, now Jamaica and the DR, and so this is turning out to be a comparison video, but that's fine. Jamaica and the DR are both tourism reliant countries, but for some strange reason, there is a belief here in the DR that a tourist is typically an American. So if you are a foreigner, you're an American. There is nowhere in their thoughts that a foreigner could come from another country, and least of all the Caribbean. They don't see foreigners, as my experience has lent to me, as being persons who work hard and save for trips. They just see dollar sign. They don't even see you as people. I give you this example, and if it were once or twice, but this is like going on a 50 to 1,000 times. You're walking in the mall. Let's use the mall, because that is it's not even on a sidewalk. You're walking in the mall, and it happened even this week. And somebody is on their phone, and they don't look up. They're just walking. And if I don't shift, they will walk right into me. And even they get so close that if I stuck my foot out, they would trip and fall. It does not even dawn on them that they could say sorry, excuse me, something. They just keep walking by. That's not very bad though. You know what is very bad? When they are walking towards you. You are on a head-on collision path, and if you don't shift, you will collide. Easy as that. It's unreal. I've seen it 100 times, and I marvel at it. Men do it, women do it, children do it. It is just so common. It's unbelievable. I'm trying to figure out some of the other things. Common courtesies. You know, we need to travel to really have great respect for home and home training. You will have maybe 1,000 is a lot, but for every 10 people you encounter, you're fortunate if one says buenas, hola, salud, or something. Young and old, they just walk by. There's no greeting, no salutation, no pleasantries, no nothing. Dry. Or they're looking at you, they're staring at you. Staring you right in the eye, staring you right in the face. Dry eye. No hello, no greeting, no nothing. And there's one thing that I have been hearing 1,000 times over. And it is that I need to be careful that I'm not mistaken for a Haitian. Yes, I do the hair. Yes, you see the hair. This is me going very, very natural. Because it's my right. It's my choice, right? My complexion. I cannot believe that I am in a place of regression. That I am too dark. The too dark thing was something that we had to deal with back in the day in Jamaica. And I thought we had evolved past that. But no, you're too dark to be considered anything but Haitian. And so the conversation I had today with my Uber driver was kind of on this trend about being Haitian, and the fact that I speak fluent Spanish, the fact that my Spanish is not Dominican Spanish, the fact that I don't care what you think, I don't lower my gaze because I feel less than self-assured, and for someone to say to me, ¿De dónde eres? Are you from Haiti? And I take offense, not because they ask if I'm from Haiti, but if I am not white or lighter color, if I am not American, I must be Haitian. And so my statement to him just before we ended our wonderful chat was, I'm from the Caribbean, just like you. There's no difference between you and me. That is in response to that type of a question, because it's not asked out of curiosity, it's asked as a means to belittle. I'm like, I'm from the Caribbean, just like you. And if I were Haitian, what? What is it? You know, what is this? What is this fixation? What is this ridiculousness? Because clearly there are two sets of people who bear my hue. You've got to be an American, a black American, or you've got to be a Haitian. Because there are no black people in the Dominican Republic, clearly, who are of African descent. It bothers me. It bothers me that until I start speaking Spanish with a very Castilian accent, or I start speaking English, this judgment of being a Haitian is not leveled at me. And at first I would say, no, I'm not a Haitian, I'm from Jamaica. But now I am saying, Ike. Like, what? You're from the Caribbean. I'm from the Caribbean. Why are you walking around and pointing fingers at people who are visiting in your country, trying to make them feel self-conscious about the way God made them? So this is not a rant. This is just me saying I'm very disappointed by the lack of Latin attributes that I expected to find here in the DR. I'm disappointed that there's not more kindness. I am disappointed that people are openly rude. Men are openly cantankerous. And you know, you have to end on a soft note. When a man, and it's usually the Uber drivers, because I really don't encounter men otherwise, I don't put myself in the way. But when they try to belittle me, and I have to stretch on my 5 feet 2.5 inches and go deep down into my Castilian Spanish to make sure them realize, say, do not pass your place with me. And that's when they fix up their talk and start to act like somebody decent that just come from somewhere civil, instead of somebody who was drawn up and come from under one table. It's not acceptable. It's not good. And my wish for everybody in the DR who have this judgmental nature is that they leave this country. They need to travel. They need to see how other people live. They need to understand that clothes does not make a man. And for the ladies, wheeling your posterior and having your thumb caught up in your extremities is not all that there is to being a woman. There's so much more. So I am giving the DR a 3 out of 10 on the personality scale. I might rave over infrastructure, I might rave over pricing, I might rave over the development that they're enjoying, but on the personality scale, lacking, sadly lacking. Well, I have a few more of these videos to do, so we will continue the conversation down in the comments. Ciao for now.